All right, good. Thursday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of your forecast. Hope everyone's doing well today. It is 4 p.m. It is October 13th, year of our Lord 2025, and it is a hot day for November standards. We'll take a look at those temperatures. We're sitting at 81 right now at the airport. We did briefly get to 82 this afternoon. That was high enough and hot enough to break a record high temperature. The old record was 81, currently sitting there right now, but we did get past that this afternoon between 2 and 3 p.m. So we are going to have a new record in the record books after the day comes to a close in the climate report. And again, something that we'll continue to watch for some other sites around our region as well. But it's very hot. There is a fire northwest of Clarendon. We did kind of talk about that briefly on Facebook. There was a controlled burn. It is a controlled burn, technically. At least that's how it started, but it did break out of some containment lines. It's a little bit hotter and burning a little more than kind of expected over there northwest of Clarendon. So if you see all that smoke that started as a controlled burn, kind of got a little bit out of hand. Clarendon and Howardwick volunteer fire departments are on scene trying to get that thing back under control. But it is burning more than they anticipated, even though it is a controlled burn. No, fortunately for them, wind's not terrible. They're around 16 miles an hour. They are from the south-southeast, and so that fire hopefully continues to stay northwest of town and doesn't really threaten anything. But right now, just something to just kind of mention. Let's go ahead and take a look at your high temperature today. We got to 82 in Amarillo. Old record was 81, set back in 1973. And just kind of looking at some of the numbers, we've had a couple of colder days this month, but the hot temperatures really kind of overwhelming some of those cooler days we had early to start. Let's go ahead and look back. We had a below normal day to start the month. 60 was our high on the 1st. We had another below day, normal day on the 9th and the 10th on Sunday, and this past Monday we were in the 50s and the lower 60s. But outside of that, it has been above average for our temperatures. So if we take a look at all the historical data through the first 12 days of the month, Amarillo, should we end the month last night at midnight, this would be the 12th warmest on record out of the 134 years that we have records that are kept. So it's in that top 10 percentile. Which again, it's been very, very warm for us. Not as bad as 1980. You can see that average temperature was about 76 degrees, so 5 degrees warmer than it is now. But definitely would like to see maybe some cooler weather kind of wash out some of these hotter days a little bit more frequently, which looks like might be coming as we move into the back half of next week, which we'll get into here in a bit. Dalhart having the seventh warmest on record if we ended the month yesterday, and then the 10th warmest month on record for November in Borger. Those records not as long standing as Amarillo, but those records have been kept since 1948 and 1949. Here's a live look outside from Childress. You can see looks like a pretty busy 287 right now there in downtown Childress. Lows for tonight will settle off into the lower 40s, so it'll be a cool start to the day tomorrow, but those temperatures are going to continue to run above normal. In fact, record highs going to be in jeopardy again tomorrow. The record for tomorrow is 83 here in Amarillo. We're going to flirt with it. I certainly think so. 90 in Childress, 92 in Paducah. Definitely going to be some of the hotter temperatures we've had of the month. So as far as the weather conditions go, we're not really expecting a whole lot outside of maybe some elevated fire issues. It's not going to be a full-fledged critical fire concern because those winds are going to be relatively light, especially for our standard. This is 4 p.m. tomorrow. Winds should be in that 5 to 15 range, but it is going to be warm. It's going to be dry. So just make sure you're still trying to avoid those activities that could start a fire. Again, 9 out of 10 wildfires here in the High Plains are caused by us as humans. So if we're doing our part, still usually is a pretty quiet day, even if the weather conditions are present for a fire spread. As we move into Saturday, we are expecting a cold front. I'm going to put quotations around that. This is not going to be a very strong push of cold air. A lot of that's going to be bottled up in the Midwest and New England as that trough starts to dig across the West Coast and really starts to kind of change that weather pattern for us. So there's that first system that we were talking about earlier this week that could potentially be an area of interest, but looks like it is going to pass to our north over the weekend on Sunday and Monday. So that's going to put us in what we call the dry slot. So we're not expecting any precipitation with that first system. This second one, models are still a little split on it, but does look like it may have a better opportunity for precipitation chances should it take that favorable track. We really need this thing to dive a bit further to the south in order for us to benefit. It is going to be something to monitor over the coming days, but models still not in a complete consensus on that one. But the general trend is probably a better opportunity for rain with that system than the one that comes through this weekend and into Monday. Temperatures are going to be a little warmer than normal. They're not going to be as hot as they've been, but they should still be above those averages. And the big story will be by the end of next week and into the following weekend that we should start seeing a relatively active pattern in the South Plains, Lone Star State, the Sooner State. You guys are all going to start seeing maybe that chance for some precipitation, especially the further east you go. Areas like Norman and back over towards Tulsa, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texarkana, in the bullseye will probably be a fairly active weather pattern. And some of those storms most likely are going to be severe out there. We could still see some storms here in the panhandles. Whether or not there's going to be severe, I think is going to be a bigger question mark. I don't think we're going to get enough instability for us to have really, truly convective storms. Now we may have some weaker thunderstorms. I think certainly possible, but I don't know if we're going to have severe weather. There's a couple of parameters that are going to be lacking in that department. Instability, I think, is going to be one of them. The wind shear will be there, but if we get enough instability to even get thunderstorms to develop is kind of in question. So here's your 7-day tracker for right now. We are keeping you dry through the next 5 to 6 days. Temperatures will continue to run above average for the next few days as well. So just make sure you stay hydrated if you're going to be working outside. Honestly, it's really going to be comfortable. Enjoy those evenings while you can, because again, they are going to become fewer and farther between when we start moving into the winter months. And speaking of which, I'm going to jump on a tangent here. This is going to be a way out in advance, so we certainly have to take this with a grain of salt. But I'm going to go ahead and show you. I got to get to the right computer model. I'm going to show you the stratosphere, and I'm going to show you these things called temperature anomalies. This is something a few of you may, if you especially really keep in tune with the weather forecast, especially the long-term forecast, probably have already heard about this the last couple of days, but there's been a lot of rumblings in the weather community about a potential stratospheric warming event by the second half, by the end of November. Okay, we got to get a new older run here. This one's not fully initialized, but so you can see these blues and these purples. This is just, where temperatures are colder than normal compared to a climatological average. And then, these oranges and reds and whites, those are where you start getting to temperatures well above normal. And you can see here kind of on the bar, these darker reds are temperatures that are about 6 to 7 degrees above normal. And that's Celsius, not Fahrenheit. And so you're probably talking about 10, 15 degrees warmer than average, and in some cases, probably 30 or 40 degrees warmer than average in the stratosphere. So if you don't know what a stratospheric warming event is, it just basically means that we get over the North Pole this huge batch of hot air. And what this can do is this can actually disrupt the jet stream in the polar vortex. And so when that happens, sometimes that will allow a lot of that cold air to escape the North Pole. This creates a very erratic jet stream. It doesn't create a very zonal flow where the jet stream is going, kind of west to east. You get a lot of those amplified troughs and ridges when you get these stratospheric warming events. And when that happens, it usually allows a lot of that truly Arctic or even Siberian air. You can get cross-polar flow where some of that air from Siberia can get actually shot down into the Canadian provinces and sometimes even to the plains region. So that may be something that we'll have to watch moving into next month. Again, models have heavily favored that stratospheric warming event by the end of November, like that 25th through the 30th time frame. And then you can just see it just kind of centering itself right over the North Pole. So it's moving into the end of the month. So we'll see what exactly that's going to tell for us moving into December, but don't be shocked if we get some kind of Arctic air outbreak at some point. This is probably 30 to 45 days out from now if we do see that stratospheric warming event unfold and verify. There's usually a lag for all of that to translate to the surface, which is the weather that we get to experience. But that's just that's the American model. This is the European model. So you can see it's not as potent with that stratospheric warming event, doesn't keep it as long, and it does bottle up a lot of that colder air kind of over Siberia and Russia. But definitely a disruption of some kind of expected. That's the general theme and trend that we've been seeing over the last several days. over the next week and a half to 2 weeks, we could be dealing with that warming event. And if it doesn't unfold, it's just maybe something to keep in mind, as we could get some kind of Arctic outbreak at some point in December. Would lean towards maybe being closer to Christmas time when that would happen. That's still over a month out. It's actually about 30, 45 days away. So that's all we're going to talk about in that regard. And again, it may not even impact the South Plains. It may get displaced into the Midwest rather than for us. So, but something to definitely keep in mind. You can always tell when the weather's kind of quiet when we start talking about the very long range forecast. Anyway, we'll let you get back to the rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great day, and don't forget to hit that like button, and we'll see you tonight.